going to give a talk, and I know you guys have faced this problem with yourselves. You always want to figure out, well, how are we going to start? Because you need to get a hook, get people's attention, right? When you're going to give a talk, right? Well, I had some ideas, but when I saw this picture of my bridge, I-35W, I figured that this pretty much says it all, you know? They say a picture's worth 1,000 words. This picture's worth 13 words, because that's how many people lost their lives on this bridge. It's worth 100 words, because that's how many people broke their backs on this bridge, because you can hardly sit in a car that falls 65 feet and not have some bit damage to your spine. Sobering stuff, you know, but nonetheless, makes the point that investing in our nation's infrastructure is a critical priority item, and it allows us to get several things done with one thing. That's good, right? When you can get a bunch of things done with one thing, that's good. That's a good thing, right? Well, what we get done by investing in our nation's infrastructure is we put Americans back to work. We build the 1.6 trillion amount of infrastructure needs that we have. By building infrastructure pieces around the country that have regional value, there are significant multiplier effects from these things. So, for example, you know, we all live in D.C., right? Where are all the new apartments going up? Do they have anything to do with where the metro stops are? Right? But not only that, when we build broadband access in rural America, we reduce sprawl. People don't have to come to the city to make a living anymore. They can do fine where they are. And when we build high-tech transmission lines, we get the benefit of all those wind turbines. I heard some young man talk about wind turbines he's building. You know, you put those things in that western edge between Minnesota and North Dakota and South Dakota. I'm speaking rather regionally right now. But the point is, that's a tremendous wind corridor, but to get the energy in an efficient, effective way to the people, you've got to be able to have those lines there. We need to rebuild America's power grid. So what I'm saying is, there are several things we do when we build and invest in infrastructure. We have critical infrastructure needs. According to the American Society of Civil Engineers in their 2005 report card for America's infrastructure, it was estimated that it would take an investment of $1.6 trillion by the year 2010 just to bring the nation's existing infrastructure to working order. Now, when you guys hear a number like that, you're thinking, man, didn't we just pass a bill for $700 billion? Well, yeah, we did. Of course, we didn't use it all, but the point is that this kind of investment you cannot offshore. If you're building a bridge in Minnesota, you can't offshore the building of the bridge in Minnesota, right? It's there. It's in Virginia. It's in our country. So it's important to keep that in mind. And so in order to make this investment, we need to muster some national will. I would also want to tell you that this infrastructure bank bill that I'm proposing is something that's been going on in Europe for almost 50 years. And you know, you don't get into a plane if you want to go from Frankfurt to Paris. You get into a high-speed train. And you don't have to put your laptop up or anything, right? You just keep on typing. So infrastructure investment is a vital part of any economic stimulus plan. In short, in the short term, it creates jobs, generates wealth, not only for workers directly, but involved in the construction, but in trades and industries. And I also talked about multiplier effects that derive from these infrastructure investments. The infrastructure investment would also has a much larger and longer-term impact. A strong and efficient transportation system, especially including sustainable transit solutions, creates a healthy environment for business investment, which in turn creates more regional jobs long after the roads have been paved and the bridges built. Infrastructure investment should not be limited to traditional definition of roads and bridges. As I mentioned before, rural and economically underprivileged areas need access to broadband internet coverage in order to grow an information and service sector to compete in the 21st century. Infrastructure investment in areas like high-tech capacity electrical transmission lines can spur growth of alternative energy production projects like wind and solar farms, promoting growth in the green economy. Finally, An effective and efficient transportation network can reduce the need for cars, decrease urban sprawl, and reduce pollution, effectively making transportation infrastructure an investment and a green investment as well. My legislation, H.R. 3401, the National Infrastructure Bank Bill, say it with me, the National Infrastructure Bank Bill, because I need your help on it, right, will create an off-budget financing mechanism to finance $60 billion of regionally significant projects like transmission lines, broadband access, and light rail projects. This bank is independent and, in addition to current earmarking process, will dramatically increase the amount of infrastructure investment capacity in the United States. By leveraging private investment capital and financing these projects with government-backed bonds, we can create a new financing mechanism to create new jobs in the coming recession, create new green economy, and ultimately help America to compete in a global level for job and industry. Let me just wrap it up by saying that we need a big project. We need to think in a large way. There was a time in American history when there was no I-95, there was no I-35, I-55, I-5. As a matter of fact, it was visionary Americans who said, you know, we can build a national highway infrastructure. You know, there was a time when our society made these major commitments to build canals and to really invest in our own country. I think right now is a time to do that. And so I'd like to ask you to support the National Infrastructure Bank Bill. Let me say that we did pass in September through the House, it's not law, passed through the House, a bill that includes significant infrastructure investment that included important short-term things like food stamps and unemployment insurance benefits, but also had a major commitment to infrastructure. I think that the time is right. The time is good. The time is time where if we can muster the national will and some national action, we can get the Congress to do this. I know that Chairman Oberstar wants to invest in infrastructure and that it's something that many, many people in Congress want to do. What's lacking, however, is that big push to make them do it, and I'm hoping that you all will be part of that. Thank you very much.